All right, so welcome everyone again to the SHIP 2025 elections campaigning do's and don'ts session to review what is allowed and what isn't allowed or are allowed surrounding your platforms for campaigning. So here's a brief agenda of what we will be doing tonight. So just very brief informal introductions. I'm Anna Patrick, the Senior Manager of Member and Chapter Relations at SHIP. So I have had the pleasure of talking to you, email you, all of the above surrounding your campaigns or your candidacy, as well as in other capacities. So again, hello. This is the face that goes along with the emails. We also have from SHIP staff, we have Ashley Tierney on the call, and she'll be helping to kind of answer any questions and kind of monitor the chat. So you'll be able to have her support. We have Jen Link, our SHIP marketing extraordinaire, and we also have our board member, Natalie Davila Rendon, with us tonight. She is the chair of our election subcommittee and is a wealth of information in the subject and here to support us as well in the Q&A session. We'll later be joined by other SHIP staff and or board members. Okay, oops, sorry, got excited there. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now that we've done a little bit of introductions, we have our first point in the agenda here is just a quick review of SHIP's 501c3 status, followed by campaigning do's and don'ts. And like I promised, the bulk of our time will be spent on the Q&A session. So here we go. All right, so for SHIP's 501c3 designation. So while the main objective of tonight is to cover SHIP's election campaigning guidelines, we want to first do a quick review of our organization's 501c3 nonprofit status. This designation is what allows us to drive meaningful impact at a national level while keeping our focus on advancing Hispanics in STEM. This designation comes with clear guidelines of what you can and cannot do as an organization, or what we can and cannot do as an organization, which also extends to our leaders. And this is where you come in. So SHIP leaders should support and uplift its fellow members, should provide resources to their fellow members, and should support the SHIP mission. I think we can all agree on these 3 points. And so we just want to make sure that you keep that at the forefront when you are campaigning for your positions. Now, we recognize that we are living in challenging times, very challenging political climate. However, we want to ensure, and a lot of us have strong opinions on the matter, we want to ensure that you, as a SHIP leader, and in SHIP's name and SHIP's representation, do not take sides when it comes to politics, that you do not support, comment on, or protest politicians, laws, candidates, campaigns, or anything political. I think it's important that you understand the rules that we have to abide by as a SHIP, and you as an extension of SHIP, as a familia member, that you understand what we expect you to do so that we can continue to do the amazing work that we're all doing together.
Hey, Anna.
Yeah.
Can you go? This is Will. Can you go back?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to make one distinction for folks. There is a difference between partisan and nonpartisan issues. And so partisan is anything that is Democrat, Republican, independent. When you're talking about the people or party, that is partisan. When you're talking about nonpartisan, that could be taking a stance on the importance of funding STEM scholarships and opportunities across universities, which benefits people from all parties. Okay, so we can take positions on issues, but not on people and parties. Where I would tell everyone to be cautious, though, is that certain issues have been co-opted by certain parties. And so people will assume that, oh, if you're pro-immigration, you must be Democrat, or you are pro-abortion, you must be this, you must be Republican, or whatever the biases are that people exist out there. So you just want to be very, very cautious, even when engaging on issue politics, issue topics, be mindful of what things look like out there when you do so, okay?
Thank you, Will. Okay. So our next slide is on election campaigning guidelines, and this is something that could be look familiar to everyone. This is a screenshot of the candidate acknowledgement agreement, which everyone in this call, everybody that is running, that is a candidate for SHIP's election, signed. And so I hope that you took the time to read it thoroughly, and you should be very familiar with this document. Nonetheless, let's cover just highlights of this particular screenshot. So the SHIP asks that you treat your SHIP elected position candidacy with the utmost respect, honor, and professionalism. And I think this point correlates directly to that first bullet that we saw in the previous slide, which is SHIP leaders should uplift its fellow members. And what I mean by that is that by you treating your candidacy with the utmost respect, honor, and professionalism, you are treating your organization, SHIP, and therefore your SHIP familia with the same. So we ask that you follow those rules. We also have a few don'ts, and they are around the areas of: one, please do not utilize or request any current SHIP position resources such as membership lists, chapter lists. For example, you may hold a chapter leadership position at the moment, or a regional leadership position at the moment, and you may have at your disposal these resources, these tools, right? Membership lists and chapter lists that you utilize to conduct the daily business of your chapter or your position. We ask that you do not utilize these resources and tools for your own campaign platform as you campaign for your position. We ask that you please do not ask or encourage any person currently holding a SHIP regional or national leadership position or SHIP staff member to endorse you through any means of any official channels, right? Social media, etc. So again, we ask that you please refrain from asking for endorsements from those leaders that are currently holding SHIP elected office, whether or a SHIP staff member. Thirdly, we ask that you do not use SHIP official methods of communication, including social media, for your campaign purposes. Again, an example that comes to mind is if you are a current chapter leader or a regional leader, I mean, you have access to these official channels for official SHIP business. We ask that you don't use those for your own personal gain in terms of your election campaigning. And if you're not currently holding any of these positions, that you don't ask someone and that has access to those to use those for your benefit. Okay, we have a question, William.
So it's clear. So I've heard you say SHIP national and official positions. Does this also include chapter leaders at the professional chapter level and at the student chapter level? Are they allowed to use I'll use distribution list as a question, LinkedIn and Instagram or any other type of social media at that level? Those aren't officially SHIP national accounts?
Great question. And I don't know if my fellow staff and board members want to jump in on that one and help answer that question.
The way that I see it is, for example, if you want to put your campaign in the SHIP.org official LinkedIn page, you're not allowed to do that. You can put it in your own account, and then that way you can distribute it to other people, but not using like the official SHIP.org LinkedIn.
So I think at the chapter level, what we're looking at and thinking about interpretation, so it's a little bit of a different question there, but what we're coming at from a national and regional elections is that it's equal access for every candidate, right? And so when we think about that for our current chapter leaders, as they're operating, we want to make sure that if they're a current leader, that they don't have an advantage, right, over their peers, over how they are presenting themselves on the election. So I think that we just want to approach that with if they have something that puts them at an advantage, they should not be using that just because of their current position.
So I can
And-
provide an example. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and Ashley, to exactly what you and Natalie said from a national and regional perspective, because we manage those at the parent organization, those are pretty clear to understand. I think William brings up a really good question, which has a nuance to it, which is the following. If an individual professional chapter or student chapter has resources like a distribution list of their members, could they send stuff out? Yes, they could. But there's a difference between sharing information and endorsing candidates. And so one thing that I would just caution everyone to think about is if a chapter is only sending out information about candidate A, but is refusing to send out information about candidates B and C, that's a problem. And that will probably generate some kind of complaint or grievance. And while chapters have sovereignty, I would also comment that chapters are sanctioned by by the board. And so they need to be mindful that they are giving everyone equal access. The other thing I'd also say is that chapters are allowed to endorse candidates. However, they should do so only after their entire membership has taken a vote, and that vote has been documented in a general meeting via minutes or something else. So there are controls in place to make sure that one random chapter president is not using the power of their position at a certain chapter to try to influence regional or national elections and SHIP. So just kind of want to make sure that everyone understands there's just some, you got to be careful how we navigate that and set them up. And Jen, I think you were going to say something else as well.
I just put it in I think you covered all of it. I put in the chat just an example of, William asked the question. So it's kind of like, William, if you're running for national board, you can't post to the Region 7 social media account like, hey, here's why I'm running for national board and blah, 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 because that's not fair to anyone else who's running for national board who doesn't have access to the Region 7 LinkedIn account or Instagram account.
That ruins my entire campaign plan. I'm kidding.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, I have gotten the question multiple times on the student chapters and the professional chapters. And Will, I think you answered it clearly on access to all candidates who reach out to them. So if all three people reach out, I think that's fair. If only one reaches out and that's the only one they share, I think that's fine. So I guess we at National don't hear a complaint of, hey, William got his posted, but I didn't, and I reached out to them, that's where it'll become an issue.
Yeah, and like William, I'll give you a really tactical example for you. So let's say you have admin access to Region 7 account on Instagram. If you posted information about yourself as Region 7, you'd be in violation of guidelines. If someone else posted a forward of your information under Region 7's Instagram, that would be permissible, provided that they also at the same time post information for all the other candidates that are running at the same time with you. We've had situations where a region would moderate their posts, and so they would approve the post for the person that was from their region, and they would not disapprove the posts from people who were not from their region for whatever reason. That was a problem. So we had to step in for that situation and fix it. So it's really about equal access and also the account that's actually releasing the information. So hopefully that kind of gives you it's nuances, but it makes a difference on the transparency and the neutrality.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Maria, you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. It's kind of like going back to what William said a little bit. So I have a group chat with like Region 2 chapter leaders in Region 2. And I know I can't like promote myself, but can I like kind of encourage the like chapter leaders to vote? Like, can I send them like pictures of the candidates and be like, please remember to vote? And like without like promoting myself?
Yes, you should be, right? Like that's part of your job is making sure that everyone is voting. So as long as it's not like showing preference for one candidate and it is encouraging people to vote, then that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
And Roman?
Hi, well, good to see both of you again. I haven't seen you both in a while, so it's nice to see you. I guess I'm following and tracking the conversation that's going on. And I guess I'm still a little bit confused, but I guess in this case, for me personally, I have been a board member for both the Orange County Inland Empire chapter and currently the San Diego professional chapter. If they were to share my, I guess, or not potential, but my campaign flyer on LinkedIn, or if they did it on Instagram of their own volition, can they do so without having to post the others? Or is this whole conversation is they can post me so long as they post other professional board of director candidates such as William and Braulio?
Correct. So I think what we've been hearing is that if we want to give the chapters are allowed to promote candidacies, right? As long as they're not showing preference to one over others. So if they are promoting all of the NBOT professionals, for given the example you just gave, then that would be okay. As long as it, they're giving equal access to everyone.
So Anna, really quick, to add color to Roman's example here, if I don't even know that they exist or they're not in my sphere of LinkedIn, like how would I know? How would I reach out to them? So for me and Will Davis, I think you can step in if I'm wrong. It's about us being able to reach out to them and then they not declining ours.
That's correct. And I'll let, Will, confirm that. But yes, that is correct. William, is about if you reach out to them and you request, to a chapter and you request for, for your information to also be shared, that you're not denied or that it's not that is not, you're not given the time and the airtime that somebody else might be given if you reached out and requested that.
Yeah, and there's obvious complexity there when you think about it, because as an example, so let's say a candidate reaches out to a chapter and says, hey, can you share information about my candidacy? Okay, that's cool. And then the chapter does that. And then another candidate gets wind of it and says, hey, this chapter is unilaterally supporting one candidate over the others. The optics don't look right. Well, in that situation, candidate B is probably going to notify us that there's a perceived imbalance there, and we will step in and talk to the chapter. What I would tell you is that if you're requesting chapters to do that, you have to help each other out too. So you could actually tell them, hey, I'd like you to share my information and also share the information of my fellow candidates. That way your members are getting all the information to make an informed decision. So you can help each other out, not endorsing each other, but kind of help keep it fair. That way, it's above board. So just as you're navigating this stuff, you want to think about that, because you're right. If you don't know somebody did it and you never get eyes on it, then you're in the dark, right? But as soon as someone does complain to elections, and it happens every year, a couple screen caps, and then at that point we engage and we try to remedy it as much as possible so that fairness is served.
Did that answer your question, Roman?
Yes, that helps a lot.
Perfect. And I am not monitoring the chat, but I think Ashley is. So help me out there if I need to do anything.
Yeah,
Ashley.
There's another question from Braulio about what happened if this information has been communicated to the chapter president's leaders about these guidelines.
I would say probably not as explicitly as we've just said them, but Jen, Anna, and I are on the call, so we'll make sure that that is coming out to our leaders as campaigning starts here in 48 hours officially. And
Thank you
then,
for the question, Braulio.
yeah, there's one more question that also asks, are student chapters allowed to decline reposting either candidates in general? And so I think, again, it's an equality thing, right? So it's not saying no to some, it would be saying no to all. But
Correct.
we do encourage a campaign election piece, right? And like we were talking about, is just making sure that all of your members are aware that elections are happening and all of our members know where to find information so that way they can make their own educated decisions about how they want to vote.
And if your chapters are, obviously, we encourage your chapters, like Ashley said, to educate the members and encourage them to vote. I know that we will be rolling out a social media campaign beginning around August 9th, not August, I'm sorry, April 9th, when the ballots go out around, those inspiring your familia to vote, which a lot of you recorded and share. And so that will be kind of used to help engage the membership at large to vote. But hopefully that answered your question. Okay, William, go ahead.
Sorry, last comment, I promise.
No, go ahead.
So for everyone who doesn't know, we have very low turnout in terms of votership across the country. So I think long-term, just us helping people build the muscle of voting is more important long-term than the individual that's winning or campaigning or all of that. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about the elections, and I want people to vote so that we have a more engaged familia, if you will.
Thank you, Will. Lucas, you have a question?
Yeah, can you weigh in on whether the votes are popular or electoral?
So the candidate, candidates should meet above a 5% threshold from the votes cast in their particular race. And the candidate that meets that threshold and has the most votes is the outright winner. And then, there's there's a tie, or if there is no, or if the candidates did not clear that 5% threshold, then it goes to appointment process.
What I meant more so was, is each individual registered SHEP member one of those voters, or is it one vote per chapter?
It's a mixed bag, actually, Lucas. So so the people who get to vote as individuals are professional members and graduate members. Okay. Graduate students will vote for graduate races. Graduate members will also vote for professional races. So professionals on the board and RVPs. Professionals in the organization will vote for RVPs and professionals on the board. And then where it's mixed bag is the student members do not vote as individuals. The way they vote is by chapter. So every chapter gets one vote. And the way that's supposed to work is the chapter is supposed to actually organize a local election at their meeting, determine locally who they choose, kind of like a caucus in our regular elections. And then they cast the vote on behalf of the chapter for those candidates in the races they're eligible to vote for. In particular, student chapters are the only ones that can vote for the RSRs and the 2 undergrads on the board. And so that's where turnout is really important for student chapters. And then they also get to cast votes, I think, for the professionals as well, I want to say.
They do.
So it's important to look at, based on which position, who votes and how do they vote. The other one that is important to capture is at-large student members within a region function as like one chapter's vote in that region. So if you have 50 at-larges in region 6 and all 50 people pick candidate C, then there will be an extra vote for candidate C alongside the other chapters that voted in that region for various candidates. So you just kind of knowing who does what can kind of help you understand how we get to the turnout, but also, how to work the election if you're trying to run for office. And then the last thing I'll say is, because it always comes up, someone will ask the question, well, what about lifetime members? Lifetime members is not a separate category. lifetime members are people who don't pay dues on an annual basis. And so a professional can be a lifetime member, a graduate student can be a lifetime member, even an undergrad can be a lifetime member. So don't even worry about lifetime in this conversation. You're focused on student, undergrads, grads, and professionals. That's it.
Edward, I think you have a question.
Yeah, I don't have the campaigning like policies handy, but I do remember when I was skimming through them, I saw that if there's like regional events being held by the team and there's going to be candidates speaking at those events, we have to notify like the elections subcommittee. I guess could you share more information about that? Just so I have a better idea.
Yeah, so that is, I actually included that piece at the bottom of the screenshot that I have on the slide right now, and it's that no debates or Q&A sessions should happen without the pre-approval of the election subcommittee, and if there is going to be any kind of like speaking port, and I'll let Will chime in on here because I know, and or Natalie because I know the experts on this, but there should be a pre-approval of that activity, and if it's if moderation is required of any sort, in a debate, it should be hosted or moderated by the subcommittee or someone appointed by it. So basically, that's part of the pre-approval process, we should be giving the subcommittee should be giving enough time to prepare for that potential involvement. So I'll let Will and Natalie add anything they'd like to add to that.
I think one of the questions that I heard mostly is like, not to make sure that we're not doing campaign during regional events. And I think that's kind of related to this in the sense that if you are going to do a debate, let's coordinate and get everything together so everybody can have a fair, availability or fair forum to discuss what they want, their platform. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think what the specific topic I had in mind was like you mentioned, a lot of current candidates are like returning regional leaders or in some other type of role. And we have like, president's meetings or like a lot of regional events this spring where the event might not necessarily be like for a debate or election specific Q&A, but those members are presenting because they're organizing the event. Would we have to notify the committee in like that instance, and how do we ensure like that we're compliant with the campaign rules in those cases?
So Edward, I think that goes to equal access too, right? So like if not every candidate that's running for that position will be at that event or will have access to perform the same activity, whether they're given the opportunity and they decline it, or maybe they just, not everybody will know or will have access to it. So that is why these guidelines are in place. So in those cases, when in doubt, obviously, you can reach out to the to elections@ship.org and ask us at the subcommittee. But I would be very careful around those type of activities if there is any perception that is not equal access to the other candidates for the same position, right? Because if it's a regional event, for example, if it's a regional event and not every regional member for that position is present or able to participate, then it may not be something that you may want to rethink, right? I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in on that.
Let me chime in though. I think what Ed is saying though is just like if he just is happening to participate and support like the event that's happening in Denver here soon, because he's helped coordinating it. It's not related to elections. He just happens to be a regional leader that's supporting, and we're not debating. We're just present and leading the event or leading a workshop, that doesn't fall under ESC guidelines because it's not related to elections, correct?
Yeah, and I
That's
think
my understanding.
I think that's the nuance right there, Ashley, is that like, you know, if you're at an event and you're networking in the hallway with people and letting them know that you're running for a position, that's fine. If the event actually scheduled you for 5 minutes to talk about your position and why you should be elected, that's campaigning. And so in situations like that, that's when that either everyone needs to be given equal access or nobody gets access. So, but I think it's a matter of recognizing, is it a scheduled, structured engagement, or is it just you doing your normal interactions one-on-one, just like if you were sending text messages or calling people or whatever. And that's why we asked to know about it, because if we find out that they did schedule a 15-minute Q&A session with the candidates for blah blah blah, but they only invited one candidate, that doesn't look right.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification. And that was exactly the situation I was thinking about, Ashley. So I think you guys captured it. Thank you.
Lucas, what's your question?
Sure. I just wanted to bring light to a conversation that was being had in the chat here, but is there any sort of system of checks and balances for confirming that it is not the chapter presidents who are casting the vote, but the actual representation of that entire student body, you know, within that chapter? Have there been any sort of systems of checks and balances in place for that? Because if there is some sort of level of, you know, maybe influence or bias, like how can we prevent that?
I know through last year, we talked a lot about this, and it's more about educating the student chapters and chapters in general of their voting rights. And we talk a lot about the student chapters that sometimes they don't even know that they can vote. So during several town halls and several meetings with individuals, we were communicating this information. But as far as I know, it's nobody like is checking and calling a specific issue one of the student chapter and asking for that information.
Thank you, Natalie. All right. I think our next question is from Fernando.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
My question is, I believe I read something, if we want to create any kind of website and use obviously the SHIP logo, we'll be introducing ourselves as a candidate. We have to state a specific language regarding this does not mean that Fernando is endorsed for this position. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yes, Fernando, you're right. There is a specific text that we ask that you include, and it's actually right here on the screenshot that I have, and it's the last line on the last bullet point, and it should read, disclaimer: use of the SHIP name or logo does not imply an endorsement. So that basically allows you to use the SHIP name or logo in your campaign materials, and you know where you're going to place it, and that helps you. Utilize that gives you that allows you to utilize the SHIP logo and name, as long as you have that that disclaimer. Does that answer your question, or did you have something else about
No,
that?
it does. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, Mariam.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mariam Bevan. I had a similar question to Fernando. And speaking about websites to share our campaign, are we allowed to create an Instagram account where we post all of our campaign, kind of like introduce ourselves, and then student chapters would repost that content? Is that allowed?
So you are allowed to create, you know, your Instagram, an Instagram account to promote yourself. You can, you know, repost things on your own LinkedIn page. That's not an issue at all. I think if chapters are going to start reposting your campaign promotional material, we have to go back to that conversation about making sure that everyone gets equal access, right? So the chapters are just reposting your stuff, but they're not reposting the other candidates in your position, then that is where it can get tricky, right? And to Will's point earlier is you can perhaps help, your fellow candidates in your position by encouraging the chapter to not only repost your stuff, but repost the material from the other candidates as well.
Okay, perfect. And just to confirm, it's not in the case that the other candidate asked and the chapter said no. It's only in the case that, oh, no, it is in that case, but it's not in the case that the candidate didn't ask and they didn't get reposted.
Right. So it's going back to that, it's all about optics, right? Like we cannot, not every candidate will reach out to, the same chapters, perhaps that it could be the case that a chapter is, you reach out for example, to a certain chapter, but the other candidate that's running for your position just isn't unaware of that chapter or doesn't reach out to them for whatever reason. We want to ensure, and that's why we need your help, right? To ensure that we are doing our best to educate, not only in voting to our familia members, but also to not get our, I don't want to say get them in trouble, but for optics wise, we want to help everybody out, both chapters and members to cast their vote, and chapters to not seem like they are endorsing one candidate over the other, even if that's not intentionally what they're doing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Anna.
You're welcome. All right. Okay, so I don't see any other raised hands. Do we have any other questions in the chat? Oh, Maria. Go ahead, Maria.
One last question. It's kind of I don't know. I don't know because I read on I think it's under the elections where it says like no person currently holding a SHIP regional position may use their SHIP title, etc. So if I was to include my regional my regional title on like posts that I would make, like for example, my own LinkedIn, is that okay? Like to talk about my regional position on my own LinkedIn? Or I can't like use my regional title at all?
That is, I'm gonna ask for some support here.
Okay, so this is what we've had in the past happen, okay? So imagine I had two accounts on Instagram. I had Will Davis personal and Will Davis board chair of SHIP. If I was posting using my board chair account, that would violate the policy. If I was posting on my personal account, that would probably be okay. Now on LinkedIn, recognize that everybody kind of treats LinkedIn as like their online resume, and you have all the things you've done across your entire education career on there. And maybe you have on your tagline right now, it says RSR for whatever region, okay? And so because your title is like right there next to your name, the optics might look a little weird. Would you want to register another account on LinkedIn just specifically to be separate? Probably not. It might be cleaner for you just to maybe update your tagline for a few weeks so it's not quite so obvious that that's what you're trying to leverage for, or that's a big part of your identity in the current engagement. But we probably would still see that as your personal account unless your LinkedIn was literally, SHIP RVP2 for 2024. Like that's different than, if it was just will.davis or something like that. So you just kind of got to use judgment. There's not a clean answer here. That's why we're doing this Q&A, is so that everyone kind of understands, hey, in that gray space in the middle, you've got to show a little bit of thought for the optics and how to navigate it and how to make sure that someone can't misinterpret it. So I can't really give you a 100% clean answer, but hopefully giving you enough to make an informed decision on what's kosher, what's maybe not so kosher.
Okay, because my question was more on like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm currently an RSR, or like currently as RSR. I was gonna like kind of have a section on a post, like on a flyer that's like shows my past experience as RSR. No, as a SHIP member. So like, for example, I'm gonna have like vice president and then like RSR, and that is like part of like my past experience with SHIP. And I think being RSR has like plays a big role in that. So I was wondering like, can I add that under like my past like
Yeah, because at that point you're talking about your experience.
yeah,
You're not
that's what I
using
meant.
you're not using your current title to give
Okay.
your message more weight. You know,
Okay, yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
that fine line between the two.
Mm. Okay, yeah, because I wasn't gonna do that. I was just gonna add it under like my experience, but thank you so much.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. I mean, that's what people would want to see that, right? Because that's what would make them more confident to vote for you. So you
Okay.
definitely want to be able to showcase that. for
Okay,
sure.
thank you so much.
Mariam?
Okay, hi again. Back to the Instagram account. I just wanted to clarify and be very specific. If my username was my first last name dot Shep, and then in my bio I had RSR candidate, I put the Shep name and I still include the disclaimer. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's the position that you're running for, right? And it's not an official SHIP account, right? And so if you have that disclaimer, you are that clears you, right, to be able to borrow the SHIP name and logo in your messaging.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Roman.
Yeah, so just kind of going back off of Maria's question as well with using the position title. I did put a question in the chat, but if say it's a Instagram account for any of the regional representatives and they wanted to say post or repost the flyer like on their Instagram story, is it okay for them to do so as long as they do not say as regional vice president, for example, I endorse this person? Is that allowed?
Sorry, you broke up for the first half of your question, but was it if the SHIP leader uses their personal Instagram account to repost your campaign information?
Yes, because I'm following the second line of the guidelines where it does state that they cannot use their SHIP title and position. But if they were to say, as long as they don't state as regional vice president or regional grad rep, I endorse this person, it's completely okay for them to reshare a flyer on their own personal Instagram account stories.
Yeah, it should be fine. And the way that I understand it as well. So correct me if I'm wrong, team. But given the specific example that you just gave, Roman, it should be fine.
Yeah, it would probably be all right. I think if someone were to, let's say someone did that and then there was a grievance filed about it, the one thing that if it was me adjudicating it, I would maybe look at the history of posts on that account for the past few months. And like if they're posting this, but they're also talking about food they ate and a place they visited, and like it's actually the person, I wouldn't think too much of it. If it's an account and the only thing they ever post are official updates as the current regional leader, then it looks more like a official regional leader type account persona, in which case I might be a little bit more like, let's talk a little bit more. But again, it's that's the hard part, is that it's all in that middle zone, right?
Thank you, Will. And I'm trying to keep track of the chat, but team, if you can help me with those as well. But I know Braulio has a question right now.
Hey, everyone. So really, I guess more kind of a suggestion based on a lot of the conversation we're having here. One, to kind of help the subcommittee not have a million grievances to deal with it, but could we get behind the idea of the chapters in general can't repost individual content? And my thought process, I know we want to encourage everyone to, hey, vote and things like that, but everyone that's a paid member was sent out all the election information. There's a website that they can direct them to say, hey, here's your reminder as your chapter officers to go vote. Please take a look at this website to go look at things. Like I know we all have additional messages and we can continue to promote those on our own personal channels and things like that, but I just think there's a lot of gray area when it comes to who's contacting what chapter and do we know all the chapters that exist. So just a suggestion to try to avoid some of that unfairness or the perception of unfairness even.
Thank you
And I-
for your comment. Go ahead. Somebody was going to say something. Natalie?
There's a question from the chat. Oh, now I lost it. So it's about the group chats and the things that if they are allowed to post on the group chat that are not official. They are just people that they just met at a conference. I think that will look more like a personal.
Yeah, I agree with you, Natalie, and I thank you, Raul, for your feedback. For the question, yes. For the if it's a a WhatsApp group or a group chat that was formed by just your personal acquaintances and not necessarily is a chapter related or regional leadership related or anything official in terms of SHIP business, then yeah, I think that that's definitely part of your network, your personal network, and one that you can reach out to and campaign through. All right. Do we have any other questions in the chat before I move on?
I have one last question, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So as for RSRs and BOD undergrad, the ones receiving the ballots in the mail, who is that? Because I remember last year a lot of people told me that they never received it. So I'm like, is it the president or who received
it? It is the president, Maria. It is the president. And this is where we rely heavily on chapters to make sure that they have current contact information filed with us. And we are constantly encouraging everyone to fill out that chapter leader contact information form so that we can have the latest contact information for the chapters. And I, when we were, kind of producing the voter list, as of February 15th, because that's the deadline for everyone to be an official SHIP member, ensuring that we connected the dots as far as the chapter presidents and the contact information that is on file at that time. And all that information and communication that went along with that, reminding people to make sure that they had current contact information. But it is the chapter president.
And if they need to update that, what can I say to them? Like, what can I tell chapters if they need to update it? And
so they can reach out to elections@ship.org, and I can take a look at that situation, because if they were themselves, right, official SHIP members and active SHIP members by that date, then I can take a look at that, updating that contact information if needed, to ensure that they receive the ballot where it needs to go. But we do need your help in future elections and moving forward to ensure that the chapters understand that that is one of the key reasons why we need them to continue to ensure we have current contact information for them, so that we're not in these situations where they want to participate in such an important process, related to their membership at SHIP, but then they can't because they didn't get the ballot or etc. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Willie?
To confirm, was that list already created? I know you mentioned February 15th, and did you pull the contact information, or someone pulled the contact information from SHIP Connect?
So yes, that list was already pulled. It was from SHIP Connect and cross-referenced with the chapter leader contact information form that was submitted, and any other, and via email as well, so that to ensure that we had the latest contact information that was submitted for the chapters. But if there are any questions about, if a particular chapter has questions about the contact information they have on file, or something to that effect, they can reach out to elections@ship.org, and again, help us communicate that and educate them, and to ensure that they keep current contact information all year long. All right. Any questions in the chat? I think I see.
Can you share on the screen what Ashley added to the chat? I think it will make it more clear for people.
Okay, let me see if I can do that.
And I'm also putting it in our Teams chat if that's easier for you. Or I can put it in let me put it in a document here for us real quick, and I can ship that.
Oh yes, that'd be great if you can put it in and just share with everyone, and yeah.
For sure.
All right. So while we get that, are there any other questions that have come up? And I actually will probably move on from this slide because we've already covered this. Yep, we jumped right into Q&A, right? And here is the chart that we were referring to. It summarizes the member types eligible to vote per position. So it's a little bit clearer on who can vote for what position. I know that Will mentioned it earlier in the call, but here's a visual for those that need it. And it's also included and it's been included in all the communications related to elections and on the flyer, on the SHIP elections flyer that we shared with the regional teams as well. And let me see here. I think, are those all the questions? Deadline for updating chapter contact information. That's an excellent question, Edward. And updating chapter contact information can be done obviously year round as transitions happen between boards, but we definitely want them to, as related to elections, we want them to do it before February 15th, because that is the deadline when, you know, we start pulling, you know, the lists and things. But if there are any questions from specific chapters around contact information, we can see those on a one-on-one, and they can reach out to elections@ship.org. And Lucas, you have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot about using personal channels or regional channels in terms of, you know, portraying our election and publicizing that. But can you talk about what SHIP National is going to do in terms of displaying our campaigning videos? Because I know that you guys have the YouTube videos, and I don't know if they're unlisted at the moment, but will our campaign videos be posted on SHIP National Instagrams, LinkedIn's, or YouTube channels is kind of the question I'm asking.
Yes, they are already posted on our YouTube channel. They're posted on the elections page where all the candidates are listed with your pictures and your bios. And at the end of your bio, it links to your video if you sent one to us. And then within the emails we send themselves, the ones announcing the candidates, as well as all the ones we'll do during the voting period, there will be a link to that elections page mentioning that there are videos. So yes.
Okay. But are they currently unlisted on the moment at the moment? Are they publicly available?
They are publicly available.
Okay.
Supposed to be, but I will double check right now.
Because I remember when I clicked on the link, like it brought me to what I thought was an unlisted video that like you could still access from the link, but you couldn't access it by going to the SHIP National YouTube video. I might be mistaken on that.
No, you could be right, because we started uploading them before the information was public, and so they were unlisted. So we may have missed the step. So I'm gonna go check right now.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You can access everything though through the elections page itself, which is probably the best place to send people to anyways, because it's all right there, all together. So your bio, your photo, the link to your video, it's all there.
Yeah, I just put the link in. I tested it out and it's all working now. I barely saw it, so.
Thank you. All right, everyone. I think we have, what, 1 minute? If there are no additional questions, which I don't see any raised hands, and I don't think we missed anything, hopefully. I thank you again for participating in tonight's call. We had some really, really great questions, and hopefully this is helpful to everyone here, as well as those that will watch it later. If you have any questions in the future, please do not hesitate to reach out to elections@ship.org, and someone from the elections committee will make sure that you get that question answered. And again, thank you very much. And thank you mainly for running for SHIP elected office. We're certainly very, very appreciative, thankful for your time and your willingness to serve your familia in this purpose. So, all right, everyone. So you have an amazing night, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you all.